Okay, can use the phone. I don't want to even try to use the laptop. Um, well, I'll just jump right into it. The This is a recent book. I think it was written in 2015. It's a John Grisham. And if you 2016, if you don't like attorney, they're in the courtroom kind of story stuff, like some of his books are, and if you aren't, this one isn't. They're very briefly in the courtroom in this. But it's John Grisham, the Whistler, meaning a whistleblower. This was a really good book. Really fast, good pace. This has been a great movie. But really good pace. It's about two attorneys that are investigators for the state. It's either Mississippi, Alabama, or something like that. And when there's a complaint made against a judge, a sitting judge, these guys go and investigate. And they get an anonymous tip that judge is doing something up to no good, and so they got to go in to see if there's a case there, and if so, they investigate it, and then whatever. But it's really a really good good story, fast paced. And I didn't read John Grisham's books in order of how they were produced. But I think if this is any sign that he's getting better with age, this would support that. This was a good book. Like I said, this is not one of those, they're lawyers, but this is not one where they're in the courtroom a whole bunch and all that kind of stuff. I used to be turned off by that, but I actually like those stories now. And John Grisham, the Whistler. Another guy I found, I'd seen these books around, but never. A lot of books are just the same. The writers are just the same. But this is Steve Martini. The book's called The Judge. I think this is his most famous or highly acclaimed book. But Steve Martini, The Judge. This was very interesting once it got going. It was a slow starter for me. It's very John Grisham-esque because he is an attorney. Although the difference is, this guy, Martini, I think was an attorney for a long time. I think he was an assistant attorney general or something like that. You could tell this guy spent some time in the courtroom. Okay, whereas John Grisham, I think, was an attorney, and then his writing took off. And so I don't think he had a whole lot of time in the courtroom. But this guy here, very well researched. But it was a slow starter for me. It's like 50 pages. I'm like, okay, where's this thing going? You got a crime, big deal, whatever. But once they got into the courtroom and how they're trying to, get evidence in, it was just very interesting. I thought this is a real surprise. Steve Martini, The Judge. Good read. If you like John Grisham kind of stuff, you'll definitely like this guy. And this guy's read a lot of books. And like I said, this guy I should have looked it up before I came on here, but he's a big-time attorney. Martini has practiced law in California in both state and federal courts and has served as an administrative law judge and supervising hearing officer. He lives in the Pacific Northwest. So, this one here, Steve Martini, another one, The Enemy Inside. This is really good. This is another one where, once again, the guy's an attorney with an investigator named Paul Madriani, the same character in the other book, The Judge. And it's just real interesting, real fast pace. This was a little kind of far out. Some of the stuff's happening, but it's another one. This would make a great movie. This was not a slow starter like the other one. But he mentions something in here. I'd have to look it up. Chapter 24. He said something in here, and this is a current book. I think it was written in 2016. But he talks about China's approach to the world compared to the United States and what has happened. And I think this guy, whereas Grisham, he's a liberal. You can tell he's a liberal. An activist writer, which is okay, whatever. I'm not saying this guy's either liberal or conservative, but this guy has a pretty good idea through his story in this particular book where China stands, where we stand with China, what's happened, how long it's been going on, we borrowed so much money. So it's really, it doesn't have much to do with the plot of this book. This guy throws some stuff out there, like he had to get some stuff off his chest about geopolitics and the way things are, and he did it pretty well in here. But yeah, this is a really interesting one. Steve Martini, The Enemy Inside. Like I said, I think this is fairly recent. But this, I'll read more of his books. It was that good. I flirt with a lot of authors. 2015, and if they could get me into it, then I'll read the rest of their stuff. A lot of them, 50 pages in, I'm like, okay, this is no good. Something I'm reading right now that I just got in the mail today. I've been waiting for 2 weeks for this thing. It's nonfiction. I found a guy on YouTube a while back. And I'll get this done fairly quick. I'm going to do I'll just do like a book report, review, whatever on this. But this is pretty interesting. It's The Great Inception, Derek Gilbert. Satan's Psyops from Eden to Armageddon. I saw some video of his. I saw about 25 videos of this guy. And I was like, I'm going to check this out. It's about the Old Testament. But like I'm about 50 pages into it. Really interesting. I don't know if it would. It's not one of those things that all of a sudden would have a dramatic effect on your salvation, so to speak, but definitely enhance it. And it goes into some things that we read about in the Old Testament where we're kind of like, what was that? And this guy kind of attacks some of those things. But too early for me to say right now. But so far, it's very interesting dealing with the Old Testament. Let me see if I give you a little taste here. Check this out. How we know the war between God and the gods is real. The startling connection between the mythological Titans, the biblical Nephilim, and the Canaanites. The importance of mountains and the holy mountain where Armageddon will be fought. The true identities of Satan and I always screw this up. Apollyon. The significance of sin of the Amorites. Why the Red Sea crossing was a literal battle between God and Baal. Why the Tower of Babel was not in Babylon, and the real reason God stopped it. And a possible, and this guy's really good too so far, when he says something is speculation, he says, okay, I'm speculating here, and he tells you how he comes up with his idea, but he's very, very transparent with that. And a possible end-time scenario that includes the most diabolical double cross in history. Anyhow, so far it's I couldn't wait to get this thing. It's taking me about 2 weeks. And I'll do a video on this. The Great Inception. Anyhow, have a good Turkey Day. Love you, God bless. And don't eat too much gravy.